Hi there everyone, my name is Andrei Marius, and in this Envato Task Plus tutorial I will show you how to use outline stroke among other techniques and effects to create this holiday text effect. Before we begin, make sure to check out Envato Elements, where with a simple subscription you can get unlimited access to millions of creative digital assets such as music, graphics, photos, fonts, and many more. You too can subscribe right now with the link in the description. Let's open Illustrator to create a new document. Select pixels from this drop-down menu. Set the width to 850 pixels and the height to 600 pixels. Make sure that the color mode is set to RGB and the resolution to 72 pixels per inch, and then create your document. Press Ctrl and 0 to zoom in on the entire artboard, and before we start the work on the design, let's go to Window in the menu bar and make sure that you have all these panels opened. Don't forget the character panel, and once you're done, you will need to set up a simple grid. First go to View and Show Grid to enable the grid, then go to View and Snap to Grid to enable the Snap to Grid feature, and then go to Edit, Preferences and Guides and Grid to edit your grid. Enter 5 in the grid line every box, keep the subdivisions set to 1, click OK, and now as you can see you will have a grid line every 5 pixels. Let's start the work on the text by selecting the type tool from your toolbar and focus on the character panel to set the settings of the text that you're about to add. Select the Camphora font, set the size to 190, increase the tracking to 75, and then simply click on your artboard to type in Noël, which means Christmas in French. Once you're done, press the Escape key to easily switch to the Move tool, and then focus on the Control panel to make sure that you have the alignment set to artboard. Click these two buttons to move your text in the center of the artboard, and move to the Appearance panel to click this button, which will add a stroke for your text. Set the size to 12, change the color to 247, 241, and 233. And then go to Object, Expand Appearance, again Object, this time Expand. Make sure that you have both boxes checked and click OK. And one more time, Object, Path, Outline Stroke. As you can see, this turned your text and stroke into vector shapes. Move to the Pathfinder panel to click this Unite button. And if you have a closer look inside the Layers panel, you will find this group. Press Shift-Ctrl and G to ungroup it, and you will end up with 4 letter shapes. Double-click the names of these shapes to rename them N, O, E, and L, which will make it a lot easier to locate these shapes later when you will need them. Continue by selecting the Line tool from your toolbar. Hold down the Shift key and simply click and drag to create a 400 pixels vertical path. Remember to have a look inside the info panel to know exactly when you have reached 400 pixels. Let's add a 16 pixel stroke for this path. Set the color to 246, 23, and 34, and then focus on the transform panel to numerically set the location of your path. Enter 40 and 250. Get back to your line. Hold down the Alt key and the Shift key and drag a copy 25 pixels to the left. Again, have a look inside the info panel to know exactly when you have reached 25 pixels. Make sure that this new line is selected, and let's change the color to 73, 141, and 80. Lower the stroke size to 2. Reselect both lines and go to Effect, Distort and Transform, and Transform. Just set the angle to -135 degrees. Click OK and go again to Effect, Distort and Transform, and Transform. For this second effect, adjust the move sliders to 45 and -2 Enter 14 in the copies box and click OK to easily add all these copies. Press Ctrl and G to group your lines and then hold down the Shift key to select your letter shapes. Press Ctrl and C to copy them and then Ctrl Shift and V to add copies on top of everything. Remove the fill color applied for these shapes and then go to Object, Compound Path and Make to turn your shapes into one compound path. Let's rename it Noel Compound Path. Press Ctrl and C and then Ctrl and F to add a copy in front. Move this copy to the bottom of the layers panel as you'll need it later. And then select your original compound path along with the group and go to Object, Clip in Mask and Make to easily mask your group of lines. Get back to the Layers panel to select your Noel compound path. Press Ctrl and C and then Ctrl Shift and V to add a copy in front of everything. Fill this copy with white and then go to Effect, Stylize and Inner Glow. Change the blending mode to multiply and the color to black. Increase the opacity to 100% and the blur to 6. Make sure that you have this edge box checked. Click OK and move to the Appearance panel to click this opacity button and open the transparency flyout panel. Just change the blending mode to multiply, which will hide the white but keep the inner glow effect visible. Press again Shift Ctrl and V to add a new copy of your compound path. Add a 5 pixel stroke. Set the color of this stroke to 60, 104 and 11. And let's continue and learn how to create a simple pattern brush. Start by selecting the line tool from your toolbar and create a 40 pixels vertical line. Increase the stroke size to 8 and change the color to black. Rotate this line 45 degrees. And before we save it as a brush, let's clean up this brushes panel. Open the flyer menu and go to Select All Unused. Click this button to delete all your unused brushes. And then click this other button to save your line as a brush. Check the pattern brush box. Click OK. For the name, type in Stripes Border Pattern Brush. Select Auto Between for the outer and inner corner tiles, which will define the way your brush will act in the corners. Change the colorization method to Tints to make sure that your brush will change color each time you change the stroke color. And then click OK to save your brush inside the Brushes panel. Now that you have your brush, you can delete this line and press Shift Ctrl and V to add another copy of your compound path in front. Make sure that you have it selected. Apply your pattern brush. Lower the stroke size to 0.4. Change the color to 234, 0 and 28. And don't forget to change the blending mode of this new path to overlay. Move back to the Layers panel to select this path with the green stroke. Press Ctrl and C and then Ctrl Shift and V to add a copy in front of everything. Go to Object, Path and Outline Stroke to turn the stroke into a vector path. And now let's use this path to mask the path on which we applied the pattern brush. Hold down the Ctrl key to select this path along with this one and go to Object, Clip and Mask and Make. Reselect your original Noel compound path from the Layers panel. Again, press Ctrl C and then Ctrl Shift and V to add a copy in front of everything. Let's add a 1 pixel stroke for this new path. Change the color to white and the blend mode to overlay. And then let's continue to create the second brush that we'll use for this design. Select the rectangle tool from your toolbar and simply click on your artboard to open this window where you can easily set the size of your shape. Change the width to 135 pixels and the height to 150 pixels. Click OK to create your new shape. Press Shift and X to swap the fill and stroke color settings. Select the fill and change the color to 65, 99 and 46, and then press Ctrl and plus a few times to zoom in on this new shape and have a closer look at the changes that we are about to make. Switch to the ellipse tool from your toolbar and start by creating a 65 by 70 pixels shape. Remember to look inside the info panel to know exactly when you have reached the desired size, and when you're done, use the move tool to move this shape in this exact position. Reselect the ellipse tool, change the color of this selected shape to black, and then create a 45 by 35 pixels shape. Let's move this new shape in this exact point, reselect the ellipse tool, create a 45 by 40 pixels shape, move it in this point, and reselect the ellipse tool to create an 80 by 100 pixels shape. Move this new shape in this exact location, hold down the shift key to select these black shapes, lower the opacity to 50%, and take a closer look at your shapes to make sure that you position them in these exact locations. Switch to the anchor point tool from your toolbar. Click these smooth points to turn them into corner points. Reselect all your black shapes and press Ctrl G to group them, and then go to Effect, Distort and Transform, and Transform. First check this reflect box, and then set the move horizontal slider to 5 and enter 1 in this copies box. Click OK, and as you can see, this effect mirrors your group. Let's go to Object and Expand Appearance to expand the effect. Hold down the Shift key to select this group of shapes along with your green rectangle. Click the minus front button from the Pathfinder panel, and now press Shift Ctrl and G to ungroup this resulting group of shapes. We'll keep this main shape and remove the rest of the shapes that were part of your group. Continue by selecting the Direct Selection tool from your toolbar. Click and drag to select these anchor points. Hold down the Shift key to also add these anchor points to your selection. Focus on the control panel and enter 5 pixels in this corners box. Reselect your entire shape and go to Object, Path and Offset Path. Set the offset to -10. Click OK. Make sure that your new shape is selected. Change the color to 114, 176 and 68. Hold down the Shift key to select these two anchor points. Move them down like that. And then select both shapes and go to Object, Blend and Blend Options. Make sure that the spacing is set to smooth colors. Click OK and go again to Object, Blend, but this time to Make to create your blend. Now for the next move, you need to disable the Snap to Grid feature and enable the Smart Guides. Zoom in on your shape a bit more, deselect it and select the pen tool from your toolbar. Focus on the bottom of this shape and at the first point, and then move to the top and add a second point around this area. Now press the escape key to finish creating the path. Press Shift and X to swap the fill and stroke color settings. Select the stroke. Change the color to 65, 99 and 46. Increase the size to 3 points. Click the stroke button to open the stroke flyout panel. From this profile drop-down menu, select profile number 4 and then return to your design to add a few more paths. You can start creating your new path somewhere around this point. Add the second point on top of this vertical path, and for the third point, make sure that you align it with this first one. Let's place it like that. Press the escape key to finish creating this path and start a new one from this point. Again, add the second point on top of this vertical path. Finish the path like that. Press escape and add one more path like that. When you are done, press the V key to switch to the move tool. Hold down the Shift key to select these paths. Open the stroke flyout panel and select profile number 1 from this drop-down menu. And then select only this path to set the stroke size to 2 points, and this other path to set the stroke size to 3 points. Once you're done, select all the shapes that make up your leaf and press Ctrl G to group them. Rotate this group to -25 degrees and then click this button to save your selected group as a pattern brush. Name it Holly Leaf Pattern Brush. Again, select Auto Between for the outer and inner corner tiles. Click OK to save your new brush. Press Ctrl and 0 to zoom in on the entire artboard, and then select these 4 letter shapes from the Layers panel. Press Ctrl C and then Ctrl B to add copies in the same place behind the original shapes. Focus on the Appearance panel, select the stroke and apply your new pattern brush. Make sure that the stroke size is set to 1, and then click this button to adjust the scale of your applied pattern brush. Lower the scale to 15%, click OK, and then go to Effect, Path and Offset Path. Set the offset to 3 pixels, click OK, reselect your leaf group and press Ctrl+ to zoom in on it. Change the rotation angle to 240 degrees and then go to Effect, Distort and Transform and Transform. Set the Move Horizontal slider to -150. Check Reflect X. Enter 1 in this Copies box. Click OK. Press Ctrl and plus to zoom in a bit more on these shapes. Go to View in the menu bar, disable the Smart Guides and enable back the Snap to Grid, and reselect the Ellipse tool from your toolbar. Hold down the Shift key as you click and drag to easily create a 30 pixel circle. Switch to the Move tool and move this shape in this point. Remove the stroke color. Select the fill color and change it to 173, 0 and 21. Reselect the Ellipse tool. Press Ctrl and plus to zoom in on this new shape. Create a 10 pixel circle and place it like that. Change the fill color to 232, 0 and 28. Switch to the Move tool and select these 2 circles. Go to Object, Blend and Blend Options. Select Specified Steps from this drop-down menu. Enter 6 in this box. Click OK and go again to Object, Blend and Make to create this new blend. Reselect the Ellipse tool from your toolbar and create another 10 pixel circle. Let's move this new shape in this point and change the color to 119, 0 and 21. Select this shape along with the blend and group them. Now hold down the Alt key and drag a copy of your group in this point. Rotate it and add a second copy. Also rotate this copy. Press Ctrl and 0 to zoom out. Select all these shapes and group them. And then click again this button to save your new group as a scatter brush. Name it Holly Berry Scatter Brush. Keep the rest of the settings as they are. Click OK to save your brush. Select these 4 letter shapes, press Ctrl C and then Ctrl Shift and V to add copies in front of everything. Select the fill and just remove the color. And then select the stroke and apply your scatter brush. Click again this button to adjust the settings of the applied brush. Lower the size to 15%, the spacing to 10%, keep the scatter at 0%, set the rotation to 180 degrees, and the rotation relative to path. Click OK, and then go to Effect, Path and Offset Path. Set the offset to 10 pixels, click OK, and then just select this N shape and press Ctrl+ to zoom in on it. Now grab the line tool from your toolbar to create a 45 pixels line. Make sure that you have the stroke selected and apply a linear gradient. Set the angle to 90 degrees. Make sure that the stroke size is set to 10. And then return to the gradient panel to adjust this gradient. Start by selecting this gradient slider and lower the opacity to 0%. Continue with this other gradient slider, double click it, change the color mode to RGB and replace the color with white. And then go to Effect, Blur and Gaussian Blur. Set the radius to 3 pixels, click OK, press Ctrl and 0 to zoom out, and switch to the Move tool to spread some copies of this line on the rest of the text. Remember that you have to hold down the Alt key to easily drag copies. And for the E and the L, you can rotate your path and make it horizontal. Once you're done, you can select this group and remove it. And then select the rectangle tool from your toolbar to create the background. Click on your artboard and set the size of this new shape to 850 by 600, which is the size of your artboard. Click OK to create the new shape. Press the D key to replace the current appearance settings with the default ones. Select the stroke and just remove the color. And then select the fill and change the color to 204, 217 and 223. Let's center this shape. And then press the Ctrl, Shift and left bracket key to move this shape behind all your content. Now scroll up to the top of the layers panel and select these 4 letter shapes, the ones that have the Holly Berry scatter brush applied on them. Press Ctrl C and Ctrl F to add copies in front. Now press Ctrl Shift and the left bracket key to move these copies in the bottom of the layers panel. And then press Ctrl and the right bracket key to move these copies on top of the background. Make sure that you have the stroke selected in the appearance panel and then go to Effect, Stylize and Drop Shadow. Change the blend mode to soft light. Increase the opacity to 100%. Set the offsets to 1 and 2. Lower the blur to 3 pixels. Make sure that the color is set to black. Click OK. And OK. And go again to Effect, Stylize and Drop Shadow. This time lower the opacity to 50%. Set both offsets to 0. Increase the blur to 5. Keep the color set to black. Click OK. And with this final touch, your design is complete. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Remember to hit that like button as it helps me know that I did a good job. Subscribe if you aren't already, and don't forget to click the little bell icon to be notified of any new tutorial. If you are looking to learn even more, you can check out some of the other tutorials that Enviro Task Plus has to offer. I'm Andrei Marius, and I'll see you in the next video.